pulling my jaw down ever so slightly to part my lips. Hello, my lovelies. My name is Leckakay, and welcome back to Your Dry Delight. This is the Meyer route that we're on right now, so we are just about to go to the party to give that casada cake to Meyer and continue about our day. If you missed the first episode, make sure that you use the eye icon in the top right corner to go back right now, pause this video, and watch that one. You don't want to miss it. It's pretty darn fun, and that way you're actually informed of what's going to happen in this episode. So, hopefully, we get to kiss and do some stuff with Meyer, even though I'm a cop and he's a mobster, whatever. We'll make it work, doesn't matter. We spend the rest of the day going through reports, most of them related to Italian gang activity on the east side. But we're going after the Jewish mafia! It doesn't exactly put me at ease for when I leave the office, heading towards Little Italy to pick up Meyers Cake. I keep picturing his face, and my mind wanders to how he might react when I hand this to him. Will it really make him happy? Aside from those distracting thoughts, though, my bakery trip is an uneventful one. Prized cargo in hand, I end up at the speakeasy just as night's settling in. Alright, well, perfect timing then. Welcome, sir. Please enjoy your nights. The doorman gives his customary greeting, and I casually nod while stepping past. Okay, here I am, a detective on a risky job, shuffling into a speakeasy with a cake and a paper bag like some kid holding onto his school lunch. Not my finest moment. The place is packed full, just like last night, which means I can't really pick Meyer out easily. I guess if I hang around the bar long enough, maybe he'll show up? Oh, it's Mr. Jack. A coarse voice, different from Meyer's, growls out behind me. Oh, who is that? I turned to see one of the rough-looking men I had noticed last night staring at me suspiciously. Never mind, I thought that was Meyer's voice. I'm gonna pat you down, make sure you aren't healed, understand? Healed refers to being armed, usually with a gun, like packing heat would refer to later on. The earliest usage was around 1866. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. What? No one did this to me last night. What's the big idea? Would you shut up? I'm not here to answer questions. Before I have a chance to protest further, he grabs me and starts patting my pockets, roughly feeling around. Huh. Sorry, buddy, I'm taking this for tonight. The man pulls out the piece I'd been carrying as insurance, just in case things went south. I'm assuming that means gun. Some sort of firearm. Well, now I feel even more like a defenseless kid. Great. Just don't pull any dumb moves and you'll be fine. We like to keep things real cordial around here. Got it? Yeah, I got it. Good. Then we'll be heading to the back room. Whatever you... Wait, the back room? Wait, where are you taking me? Wait! The man suddenly grabs my wrist, pulling me along the speak's perimeter. My heart starts to pound in my chest. What am I getting dragged into? I told the officers not to get too close to this place unless I was gone for a while, but who knows what'll happen in the meantime. My semi-captor takes me to the back of the parlor and down a long, dark corridor. The music and laughter fades slowly into the distance, replaced only by the sound of our footsteps. Okay. Finally, we reach a large black door and the man knocks firmly on it several times. Come in. Oh, nice bright study. Alright. The door opens into a warmly lit, spacious parlor. Not exactly the scary, dank room I'd been expecting. Okay. And there, in the middle of the lush couch, such a familiar tall man. Mr. Eastman, your friend's here. Yes, I can see that. Thank you for bringing him in. Make sure no one intrudes on us if you'd be so kind. Yes, sir. With a polite nod, the other man departs, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Once he's gone, Meyer and I stare at each other for a few seconds in silence. I can only think that this dramatic reintroduction was deliberate. He knows I can read the subtext. Well, I brought your cake. I left the bag in my hand and shake it a little, laughing nervously. Ah, I knew I could count on you. A pleased smile slowly spreads over his lips, and the sight makes me relax a little bit. He pats his couch beside him, and I don't exactly feel like I'm in a position to refuse. I approach and tentatively lower myself down, sinking into the soft cushions. Like his soft booty cheeks. Why, you're as stiff as a sheet of glass. What's wrong, Jack? Your secretary back there wasn't exactly the most gentle of fellas. I apologize. They're used to dealing with coarser individuals than yourself. You see, and I forgot to tell him to use kid gloves. I know what kid gloves are. I mean softer hands. It's not that. I just wasn't expecting all of this. All of this? You mean a nice back room at a speakeasy? Meyer gives me a faux innocent look. Right, that's obviously what I was referring to. Anyway, here, your prize. I hope it didn't get smushed when your lackey was jostling me around. I offer Meyer the bag with the cake, and his eyes light up when he takes it from my hands. Wonderful! Oh, that's Leslie's reaction. Wonderful. I can smell it already. Fremdenbrit, my rabbi used to say. But I like to pretend it doesn't apply to cakes. I don't even know what that means. A German phrase that translates as, it's hard to eat a stranger's bread. Purportedly used by Jews in St. Louis, Missouri as of 1920. As in, don't trust things from strangers? Okay, like don't take candy from a stranger, but in German? Alright. He gazes longingly at the bag for a moment, then sets it to one side. A smile finds its way onto my lips before I even realize it. The way he likes sweets so much really reminds me of Leslie. Oh, before I forget, I have something for you, Jack. Meyer leans around the edge of the sofa, grunting softly before straightening back up with a bottle in hand. It's full of golden liquid, but I don't recognize the label. You wanted something a little sweeter, right? You remembered? I have an excellent memory, especially when it comes to people who catch my interest. Wink, wink. He takes a glass from the table beside him and starts to pour me a drink, humming softly. I notice that he's already got a half-empty cup of coffee for himself, black as the night. This is Slivovitz, sweetened with honey. I've never sampled it myself, but one of my men swears by it. Slivovitz, okay. Is a plum brandy produced in Eastern Europe. It was distilled in large amounts by Jewish communities in Poland before World War II. While often very strong and bitter in its natural form, it is sometimes combined with honey to make it sweet and less pungent. Huh, okay. I prefer to take my sweets in something of a different fashion, though. Meyer hands me the glass, letting his fingers brush against mine for a moment longer than necessary. Oh, thanks. You're quite the host. You expected anything less? Alright, so he turns a little bit on the sofa, propping one elbow against the back as he gazes at me head on. Feeling slightly embarrassed under his stare, I take a curious sip of the drink. Damn, it goes down so easy. Good enough that I can see why you're not serving it out here. Out there, I mean. A man has to make a living, unfortunately. Buying and transporting high-quality goods is expensive, not to mention risky. I'd much prefer to serve good liquor over the common swill, but it's not quite feasible yet. He pauses for a thoughtful moment, though his eyes flick back to my face soon after. Well, about the information I owe you, assuming you're still interested in work. As I nurse my drink, Meyer begins to describe the main mafia figures in the city, along with the various rackets they keep in great detail. Combined with everything else I've seen tonight, I think it confirms my suspicions. He's near the top of the underworld food chain in Cleveland. He's not even trying to hide it. In fact, I think he's just playing a game with me, seeing how far he can take this before one of us has to state the obvious. Knowing that you would think I'd be incredibly uncomfortable right now, but for whatever reason, being around Meyer makes me completely at ease, because you want to be DTF. Maybe it's his disarming casual mannerisms or the soft and smooth way he speaks. There's nothing aggressive or thug-like about him. He's perfectly composed. Occasionally, he shifts on the sofa beside me, brushing my leg with his own in a way that can't possibly be an accident. I can't tell what's going on behind his twinkling green eyes, but there's something playfully devious about the glances he keeps giving me. That's because he's also DTF, and I think that would make our trade just even better now. He finishes his thorough description with an impish wink, taking a sip of his coffee. You sure are familiar with all the gang activity here, aren't you? If I didn't know any better, I'd almost think you controlled some of it yourself. Me? Why, I'm not sure what would lead you to such an outrageous conclusion. Instead of looking offended, though, Meyer presses in a little closer, his smirk suddenly growing mischievous. After all, it's rather rash to assume some things about people you don't know particularly well. Don't you agree, Richter? Oh, crackerjack! How do you... He smugly lifts the cake bag, rustling it before my face. Your name is on the label. A mistake I wouldn't expect from you, if you'll pardon my rudeness. Were you distracted at the time you purchased it? I'm not about to mention how I was daydreaming about him when I bought the cake, so the answer is yes. I thought I'd rather just let my professional pride take the fall. Of course, I know you're a detective too, and I can guess why you're here. But please, don't take it as a blow to your acting skills. I'm just well acquainted with a number of professional liars, you see. If you already know so much about me, why are you pouring me drinks rather than having me shot and dumped in the alley? Meyer clicks his tongue, lightly wagging a finger at me. Violence is not how I prefer to do business, Richter. It's only ever a temporary solution. Violence begets violence, which is why you have warring Italian crime families rather than one consolidated, powerful body. No, in most circumstances, I much rather prefer making friends than enemies. Friends like you, which is why you're not being dumped in an alley. Although I would never harm a Shayna Punim like you, no matter what my moral code was. What's a Shayna Punim? This Yiddish phrase literally means pretty face. Oh god, he's absolutely coming on to us so hard. He shifts on the sofa again, this time letting his legs stay resting against my own. I swallow, relieved at Meyer's explanation, but acutely aware of his face being a mere few inches to my right. You certainly aren't like any other guys I've met, law-abiding or otherwise. Why don't you tell me more about what it's like, being in this risky business? I clumsily attempt to slide the conversation in another direction, daring to glance over at Meyer. No, please. I know a one-sided agreement when I see one. With the gloating air of someone who's just caught their opponent cheating, Meyer shakes his head. I'll answer a few questions of yours, but only on the condition I can ask questions of my own. I swear on my honor to answer with the truth, and you'll do the same, but we can each avoid one question in exchange for a favor. Does that strike you as fair? His tone casually rises up at the end, not so subtly daring me to accept. I think I'd be an idiot to expect a businessman like yourself to play fair, but alright, I'll bite. That's what I like to hear. Meyer gives me a rankish teasing grin, all too pleased with my reply. As a gesture of goodwill, I'll even let you start. Really? Well, how do you make any money with that kind of generosity? Oh, you'd be surprised. As Meyer chuckles to himself, I pause and ponder on just what to ask. What do I most want to know about him? Ask about his gang, ask about his history. I want to know Meyer on a personal level rather than about his gang. He already told us all about the gang and things in great detail, so we already have information about it. We don't know much about Meyer. I want to know about him. And if I can kiss him, that's going to be the way to go. Tell me about your background, your history. What was it like for you growing up? My question seems to catch Meyer off guard, but his surprise quickly shifts into a gentle, pleased expression, and he nods in acknowledgement. I was raised in a cozy little Jewish community in Missouri where I lived until a few years ago. I'm sure you'll find this hard to believe, but I always kept to myself as a boy. I rarely spoke to anyone. I suppose you could say I was afraid of rejection. Our rabbi was my closest friend. We ate corned beef sandwiches and talked about baseball on the weekends. Looking back now, he was just as lonely as I. He chuckled softly, gaze flicking down to the coffee table and lingering on his cup. I can't imagine Meyer ever being withdrawn. I guess he didn't develop his charisma until later. Several days after my bar mitzvah, a few boys who I'd never seen before approached me on the streets. Meyer, they said, you're a tall, strong guy. Why the hell are you playing with the rabbi instead of making money? I realized I didn't have much of an answer. We formed a merry little crew. It was enjoyable to have that kind of attention from my peers, and my desire to fit in was why I began doing jobs with them. Eventually, my name garnered a certain reputation. The association grew, people started looking up to me, and somehow I ended up on top of it all. Meyer's eyes returned to me. I can't really read the true emotion behind them. Nostalgia, regret, or satisfaction. Probably all three. The rabbi, you never know what happened to him? We don't speak anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. He gives me one of those brief, thin-lipped smiles, the kind you only show to be polite. Again, it's hard to see through what it means, but I can detect a little longing in his voice. You know, I'd always separated mobsters from real people in my head, like you were all just monsters who'd lost your humanity. But, humanity.
You mean humanity?
No, humanity.
Humanity?
Humanity.
Humanity?
Humanity.
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 No, it's humanity.
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 You're a useless character and nobody loves you!
But listening to you talk, I guess it makes me realize we're not so different after all. I twirl my glass between my fingers, unsure if that knowledge makes me more happy or grim. Meyer studies me in silence for a little while. It's not an awkward silence, though, just a thoughtful one. Well, your turn. For a question. You have one? Oh, I have many. When the silence finally breaks, Meyer gives me a wry grin, his eyes momentarily flicking down to my mouth. Yeah, I'm listening. Alright, what's your greatest fear? My greatest fear? He nods, watching me expectantly. No immediate answer pops into my head, so I mull over the question for a moment. My greatest fear, something that would keep me from sleeping at night. Hurting innocent people. Oh? I nod, forcing a brief awkward smile as I take another sip of my drink. Meyer doesn't add anything further, though. Is he waiting for me to elaborate? I just think it's my duty, well, the duty of everyone in law enforcement, to make sure Americans are safe and happy. That's why we exist. It's not my job. It's not just a job you do for money. It's a job that lets you go home feeling better about the world, even if it's just for a little bit. Meyer tilts his head a little to one side, eyes glimmering at me. Then his hand slips onto my shoulder, resting there gently for a few seconds before squeezing it. Very admirable, Richter. Although, I have to just wonder where Volstead fits into that. He trails off curiously. Is he trying to lead me somewhere with that vague comments? Well, it's your turn, isn't it? Why don't you ask me something lighthearted? I don't mind if you get more personal. What's your favorite position? He leans in a little more, hand still lingering on my shoulder. I can smell his light cologne and the subtle earthy scent of coffee. I've been trying desperately to keep my nerves under control, but it's getting harder and harder the more Meyer teases me into my personal space. Ask if he has a lover. Ask what his favorite activity is. 100% ask if he has a lover. Do you have a lover? A wife? You must, right? Being the cat's meow and all. No. Meyer responds casually, offering a little shrug when I shoot a glance over at him. Is it my imagination, or does he look incredibly smug right now? No, he's smug as hell. Why are you wearing that expression? Are you so very surprised? Or maybe you're relieved? No. Just surprised is all. I really didn't think you'd still be a bachelor. And why is that? Because I'm the cat's meow. Can we just get on with the next question? Pausing, Meyer makes a show of tapping a finger against his bottom lip, turning his eyes towards the ceiling. It's such an obvious display that I know for a fact he's already got his question picked out and he's just toying with me. I drain the last of my glass in an attempt to act casual, turning my head away slightly. I've got one. What memory do you have of your first kiss? Please describe it in great detail. I nearly choke on my drink, so this is what he was planning all along. I'm listening very attentively. Hold on, damn it, I know this is what he wants me to say, but it'll be a cold day in hell before I tell the guy I've never properly kissed anyone before. Can I just trade the favor? I don't want to admit that I'm a freaking inexperienced person. Oh, and there's nothing wrong, by the way, with being inexperienced. If you haven't kissed anyone before, you haven't been in a relationship before, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not having had relationships or much romantic things, because it's also not everybody's interest. So, don't let society pressure you into relationships just because you feel like you have to have one. Side note from Leckakay. Oh? Don't feign surprise, you bastard! In that case, I suppose I'll take you up on that favor right now. Kiss him! I reflexively squeeze my eyes shut, sucking in a breath. It feels like my chest is going to explode. Richter, what are you doing? What am I doing? I reopen one eye to see Meyer staring at me quizzically. I thought no, of course he wouldn't. He's too much of a gentleman. He was so expecting the kiss. He was just like, take me. Oh my god. Poor Richter. Just, little dizzy from the drink. So, what do you want from me for the favor? Well, you'll probably think me a fool for saying this, but... Reaching for the bag at his right, Meyer lifts it up and sighs happily, slipping his hand inside to unwrap the cake. I'd like you to share it with me. Share? The cake? He nods, pulling back the wrapper and paper wrapper to reveal the delicious-looking spongy white dessert. I'd feel guilty enjoying it by myself, especially considering you brought it for me. So I'd prefer we savor it together. Does that sound agreeable? Ha! I haven't had a thing since lunch, so you're asking the right guy. Should we just cut it in half or what? No. You're going to feed it to me. I blink at Meyer, unsure if I heard him correctly. He gazes back at me calmly. I definitely didn't mishear that, did I? If you want, then should I go get a fork, or... That won't be necessary. Come, take a bite. Meyer offers the cake to me, along with a daring raise of his eyebrow. I feel like I just walked into a trap, but I knew that from the beginning, didn't I? And I came here all the same, because I wanted it to happen. I take a small bite of the cake, letting the fluffy sweetness rest on my tongue. Then, Meyer gently curls a finger under my chin, gradually closing the distance between us. His chest presses against mine, pinning me to the back of the sofa. There's no need to be embarrassed, Richter. He breathes those words against my cheek, pulling my jaw down ever so slightly to part my lips. Slowly, delicately, he covers his mouth with my own. I need to screenshot this for the thumbnail. Hold on, I gotta figure out how to do that. Okay, I figured out how to do it, but I also accidentally clicked past some text, so the sweet flavor mingles between our tongues, but my head feels so foggy that I can barely think about how it tastes. Meyer teases me with maddeningly light, soft kisses, pulling back a little bit each time I start to press forward. He's really trying to provoke me, isn't he? Well, it's working. Meyer, I bite down hard on his lower lip, exhaling a hot, impatient breath. This is amazing. This is freaking amazing. I love it so much. Momentarily, his chest presses harder against mine. His kisses suddenly grow more aggressive, hard and deep, so intense that I have to gasp for air whenever I can. I pull his coat off of his shoulder, grasping needily at his shirt, letting my hands wander all over his powerful body. Just as his tongue starts to slip into my mouth, he pulls back again, this time breaking into a devilish grin. If I'd known that you would be so eager, I would have done this a lot sooner. Are we gonna spend the whole night talking or share more of that cake? Are we gonna share more of that sweet, sweet cake of each other's? I can't disappoint my favorite detective now, can I? It would be horrible if you clapped me in shackles and brought me in for interrogation after all. You sound pretty excited about the idea, actually. BDSM! And can you blame me? Meyer swipes a finger through the cake's icing, then presses it past my lips. I suckle on it without hesitation, lapping the sweetness on his fingertip, a faint moan leaning from my throat before I can contain it. Richter. Oh! It's so beautiful! Oh my god, I love it so much! Meyer suddenly leans in for another kiss, trailing his fingers along my bottom lip. This time, he's the impatient one, his tongue pressing insistently against my lips until I part them. It greedily swirls inside my mouth, tangling with my own tongue as Meyer presses me roughly against the couch. It's like he can't get enough of me, and I can't get enough of him. I grasp his hips and keep him pulled forward, wanting more and more. As we trade eager, wet kisses, my mind hazily wanders towards a certain question. What am I really doing here? You're trying to get some, is what you're trying to do. Am I trying to live out some detective seduced by mobster fantasy? 100%, that is 100% what you're doing. Or is it like Meyer said? Are we just two men outside of our opposite professions savoring each other's company? Both. Just stop overthinking it and let the sex happen. If Leslie could see me right now, I don't know what he'd think, or if he'd even find it excusable. But if I'm so easily turned away from my duties by a gangster, maybe I was never cut out for this line of work to begin with. One of my hands drifts down my chest. One of Meyer's hands drifts down my chest, slipping around my waist to squeeze my hip. I normally wouldn't do this on a first date, especially since I'd like to give you a reason to come back. He heatedly murmurs a string of words in between breathless kisses, not giving me a moment to reply. But it doesn't feel like you'll need too much convincing. His fingertips tease along my inner thigh, sending shivers from my head to my toe. He's going for the D! Okay, let's see. Just a little bit higher. A little higher. Touch it! Touches hard! Oh no! A frantic knock at the door makes both of us jerk apart. Meyer smooths back his hair and clothes, sitting back and clearing his throat. Come in. The door instantly flies open, and one of Meyers' men bolts inside. Mr. Eastman, there's a bunch of cops sniffing around outside the joints. I think something's about to go down if we don't stop them. Wait. Those are my guys. Safety precaution. I jump from the sofa, inwardly kicking myself. Damn it, I should have told them to go home earlier. I lost track of time, and shit, there's no excuse. It's all right, Richter. Meyer's gentle voice calls to me reassuringly. Go put your men at ease. Maybe by some grand stroke of fate, you'll end up here again tomorrow, and we can resume our talk. Wink, wink! He puts on one of his wickedly innocent smiles, winking at me. Thanks. I hope I can see you soon. You doubtlessly will. Oh, I freaking love it! With a hasty nod, I turn and follow the other man to the door, smoothing back my own ruffled hair. Lucky for me, those officers probably aren't paid enough to ask many questions. Oh, and Richter. He calls out to me just as I'm about to cross the threshold, and I glance back at him. Don't forget what your real duty is. Good night. Meyers Man shuffles me along to the exit before I have a chance to reply. My real duty? What the hell does that mean? Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but those words stick in the back of my mind, even as I leave the speakeasy to reassure the officers I'm alright and defuse the situation. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see Meyer tomorrow and I'll ask him then. My heart's still pounding from the end of our talk. When I finally get home and roll into bed, there's no way I can fall asleep, so I spend the night restlessly tossing and turning. I'd rather be hungover than this. Jesus, infatuation doesn't fade away half as easy. Oh no, it sticks around for a long time. Ugh. Morning, boss. I stumble into the office feeling like a corpse dragged out of its grave. Coffee. Richter, this is the second day in a row you've come in looking like a bedraggled cat. Do we need to have an intervention? I'm fine, just couldn't sleep. Christ, something really is messed up when Leslie... Oh, sorry, I thought it was him. Christ, something really is messed up when Leslie shows up at work before me. He lets out a long, playful sigh, shaking his head before taking a sip of his coffee. Well, don't keep me in suspense. Your escapades last night, of course. What happened? What did you find out? Oh yeah, right. Ugh. With my own coffee mug in hand, I sink down into my chair, clearing my throat. Going to have to leave out some of the details here, I think. My new friend, Mr. Meyer Eastman. Well, he gave me some information about the powerful mob players in the city. Seems like he's really in the loop. The already pale Leslie seems to grow a shade paler. He slowly sets down his coffee and leans forward over his desk, brow furrowing as he stares at me. Did you say Eastman? Sure did, boss. Why? Why? Yes. Are you losing your hearing already, boss? You're not that old. Because Eastman is the man running all of Cleveland, that's why. Leslie raises his voice in excitement and frustration, slamming his fists down on the desk. All of Cleveland? Yes, all of Cleveland. I found out about him last night at the party I went to. He's well-liked and hugely powerful, and most of Cleveland's Italian mafia is terrified of him. I don't know how on earth you managed to get in his good books, but Eastman is the key to taking down the city's liquor business. In fact, I think that speakeasy itself might be his main base. After we get a bit more information, we should set up a raid. I figured Meyer was powerful, but I had no idea he was running all of Cleveland. Leslie's right, obviously. Our department is supposed to be working with the FBI to enforce Prohibition here, which means shutting down criminal outfits. This should be a huge step forward. If that's the case, then why do I feel so reluctant? Because you want the D! It's not like Meyer trusts me. In fact, I'm sure he doesn't, but I can't imagine putting him behind bars. Last night was probably just a game, his attempt to manipulate me onto his side, and yet it didn't feel like that at all. Oi, Richter. Are you spacing out? Do you need more coffee? I snap back into the moment, greeted by a curious Leslie staring at me quizzically. No, I was just thinking, boss. We're going about this the wrong way. The wrong way? You have a different idea? When I nod, Leslie tilts his head to the side, motioning for me to continue. If there's anything I can give him credit for, it's that he's usually willing to listen to what I say, even if I'm the junior partner. Let me keep talking to Eastman. I'll get more details out of him, I promise. We shouldn't throw him in jail. Not yet. Leslie stares at me in stunned silence. Does it sound really that strange? Did you hit your head on your way home last night, Richter? This is the mob boss we're talking about. He's dangerous, not in the line to be the next pope. I don't know what he said to you, but you shouldn't believe him. Just because he hasn't killed you yet doesn't mean he won't, once you've outlived your usefulness. Haven't you thought about that? His frustrated, skeptical words echo my own thoughts as much as I hate to admit it. Maybe it's stupid to try and deny them, but before I can control myself, I flare out the first thing that comes to mind. He's not a murder machine, Leslie. He's not a one-sided villain who's born bad. Sure, most mobsters out there are ruthless bastards, but so are a lot of normal people. Mafia guys are some special breed, evil to their rotten cores. Meyer, he's a businessman. He's using the law for profit, I know that, and I'm not saying that I think that's right. But, after talking to him, spending time with him, seeing how he's just a guy like any other, I'll be damned if I don't have more sympathy for him than whatever rich old highbinder is handing down orders in the FBI. Highbinder refers to a corporate politician or swindler. It originates from the name of a Chinese-American criminal organization in New York in the mid-late 1800s. Okay. Leslie stays quiet, biting his bottom lip, a nervous habit of his, and avoiding my gaze all the time. I never raised my voice at him, nor anyone else for that matter. I instantly feel a little sheepish about it, but I didn't know how else to express my change of heart. Finally, Leslie rubs at his eyes with one hand and gently sighs, a small smile twitching at the corners of his lips. He stands up from his desk and walks over, giving me one of those affectionate, what am I going to do with you looks. I guess I'm not all that surprised. You've always been compassionate and honest, probably why you're a terrible liar. He pauses, reaching out to gently ruffle my hair. There's still a worried crease in his brow, but I think he's trying his hardest to believe me. If you really, really think this man isn't out to just screw us over, and he'll be of use to our investigation somehow, then I suppose I'm willing to go along with it, for a little while at least. Boss, a little while, I said. Hey, what? I jump out of my chair and pull Leslie into a hug, tightly squeezing his wiry frame. He stiffens for a moment, but eventually wraps his arms around me too, softly patting my back. I sure hope you know what you're doing, Richter. If something ever happened to you, well, let's just say I have a hard time living with myself already. Why, because you're so high maintenance? Exactly. You know how many times a day I have to feed myself? It's very difficult, and having guilt on my shoulders won't help at things, honey. I'll be fine, boss. Don't worry about me. As we pull apart, I gaze down into Leslie's face for a moment. He still doesn't look very convinced, and it's perfectly reasonable. We're paid to be suspicious. I'll bring him around to the idea eventually if everything works out. He's open-minded to just about anything, given enough time. Except vegetables, maybe. After we discuss things a little more, Leslie and I settle about our usual routine of paperwork calls and more paperwork. It's not like our work normally flies, but today, the hours seem especially long. At last, evening rolls around. When I head outside, my feet start to take me down a familiar road before I even realize it. And we end up at, I can only assume, yep, this location. Welcome, sir. Please enjoy your nights. Loud music rushes over me in a wave. The familiar sea of dancers, lights, and sparkling glasses. This place is starting to grow on me. To my surprise, I spot Meyer already standing by the bar, a cup of coffee in hand as he chats with the bartender. Should I go up to him? I don't want to come off too strong. Maybe I should casually strike up conversation with someone else and wait for... just as I mull over my plan, Meyer's gaze meets mine. He instantly breaks into a warm smile, beckoning me over. Phew! I wander towards the bar and step up beside him, clearing my throat to buy time as I figure out what to say. Well, well, it seems like my detective wandered back to me. Did your flock of officers decide to come along today, too? No, I left them at home with the sitter. Good. I couldn't tell you how disappointed I was when they decided to interrupt. A suggestive, airy murmur sends a tingle down the back of my neck and to my nether regions. At least I wasn't the only one who was disappointed. Yeah? Well, I was really looking forward to the rest of that cake. I'm afraid I enjoyed the rest of it by myself, but I was thinking of you all the while. Does that make you feel any better? Oh my god, the sexual innuendos here are so strong! Oh god, for those of you who may not understand the innuendo that's happening here, obviously the cake is referring to sex. He did it by himself, like, masturbated, and he was thinking about him while he was doing it, like, I wish I was with you instead of just doing this with my hands, baby boo. Not one bit. Meyer lets out one of his deep chuckles, low and comforting. It always seems like his sly, evasive mask melts away for a split second whenever he laughs, betraying something vulnerable. Listen, Richter, if you'd prefer, we can always linger out here and talk. As much as I want to savor you all in private, I'm more than happy to just enjoy your company, discussing whatever flights of fancy we have. I probably shouldn't have said that. I imagine my seductive air of mystique is all but ruined for you now. Seduction? No, I hadn't even... Never mind. His leg lightly brushes mine, underneath the bar and out of sight. He's so bold, this guy. I can see how he got in his line of work, no doubt about it. Actually, I wanted to ask you some more serious questions. Privacy might work better, just, you know, as a precaution. Oh, of course. I have no doubt that your reasons are entirely... Ah! It's the cops! Oh no. At that moment, the speakeasy door flies open and a small group of officers rush in. Screams echo through the parlor after the music cuts off, but the cacophony quickly goes silent. Eastman's men can't even reach for their guns. The officers are already aiming their own. Huh! Oh, at the head of the group stands Leslie. Richter! The second our eyes meet, he rushes over to me, releasing a huge sigh of relief. Richter, thank God you aren't hurt. I thought for sure that... We had an agreement, Leslie, didn't we? How can you just storm in here after me? Don't you trust me? When I manage a choked accusation, Leslie just shakes his head, eyes narrowed. It's not about trust, Richter. It's not even about the job. To hell with information gathering. The thing I care about most is keeping you safe. You're too honest, too trusting, and I can't just let you run around with people like this, even for the sake of an investigation. He gestures at Meyer angrily, apparently having guessed his identity already. Leslie was really that worried about me? I knew he was still concerned, I just didn't think he'd go this far. Alright. Meyer, who's been entirely silent the whole time, watches us with a carefully measured expression. How can he be so calm? He had no idea that this was going to happen, did he? Gentlemen, I believe there's been some severe miscommunication. Please, Mr. Leslie, tell your men to lower their weapons. This can be discussed calmly without the threat of accidental bloodshed. Agreed. Leslie hesitates. There's a very strange degree of trust going on here, but I get the sense that neither of them wants it to end in violence. I know Leslie hates hurting anyone, even criminals, and Meyer doesn't seem the type to enjoy it either. Understood. He signals to the officers who slowly, reluctantly, lower their guns. The tension in the room eases a little, though it's still far from calm. Let me say first, Mr. Leslie, that I entirely understand your concern for your partner's safety. But you see, after our friend Richter here showed up the other night, I was struck with an idea. I knew he was a detective before he so much as walked in the door. Your informant's working for me, so I decided to have a chat with him. Your informant is working for me? You knew from the beginning. I mean, back there, that was... Don't get me wrong, Richter, I was enjoying every second of it. But I've been looking for a way to work out an arrangement with the law in Cleveland for some time. You're a hard-headed sort here, so let me tell you. He exhales a deep breath between his teeth, gently shaking his head. Richter, however, I could tell he was made of something different, not so hell-bent on enforcing the Volstead Act, yet not just the type to be bought either. I was intrigued, so I thought I'd try to work out a deal as in my way. Last night was supposed to be the beginning of that deal, but, well, I was enjoying the company so much that I thought to myself, what harm can it be to wait a little while longer? When Meyer's glimmering eyes settle on mine, I feel my heart skip a beat. Maybe several. He invited me back to make a deal, but it spiraled into something more because he enjoyed my company. So you really believed we wouldn't try to arrest you? It was a calculated risk, of course. Meyer casually waves one hand, the way he keeps this kind of sang-froid even while surrounded by the law. No wonder he's a leader. Sang-froid, literally cold blood in French, refers to someone who acts cool and composed even in tough circumstances. Interesting. Sang-froid, okay. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I like to make big gambles and usually they pay off. But I've done my research on your backgrounds, your past jobs. I knew you wouldn't simply raid my venue without showing a few of your cards first. So you could say the chips landed where I thought they might. Huh! Leslie looks very surprised and impressed. Leslie rubs his cheek with a hand, blinking rapidly as if trying to understand everything we just heard. I can't blame him. I knew Meyer was sharp, but I had no idea he'd planned everything out ahead of time. You know, even though we're the ones with our guns out, I can't help shake the feeling that we played right into your hand. You really do live up to your reputation, don't you? I was expecting Leslie to be furious, but instead he sounds more impressed than anything. Is it possible he actually took some of my words to heart back in the office? You mentioned a deal earlier. Care to explain what kind of deal you're talking about? Ah, I was hoping you'd ask. A particularly satisfied smirk curls on Meyer's lips, the type a man wears when he's just won at cards. Why don't we discuss matters privately, on a neutral ground? I'll even let you pick the spot. All of us disarmed, with a few of our men waiting outside. A moment, if you don't mind. Alright, Leslie grabs my sleeve and pulls me aside, leaning up to whisper in my ear. You really trust him enough for this? Normally I'd say it's suicide, but this Meyer, he's not like any other man I've ever met. It's like it's talking to the chief of a big corporation, not some mafia leader. He scratches his head, clearly baffled. It's not like I can blame him. I felt the same way when I first met Meyer the other night. I know he doesn't mean any of us harm, boss. He's still a gangster, I can't deny that, but... I paused, swallowing. Better word things delicately, or else Leslie might catch on. I think he genuinely wants to work out a deal with us. All of this would be way too much trouble otherwise. My thoughts exactly. You think we should hear him out, then? Without hesitation, I nod. Maybe it's an incredibly stupid decision, but I can't bring myself to believe all of last night was just a means to an end. If you don't mind me saying, Mr. Leslie, I gather you're the type to take precautions. Meyer pipes up airily, and we both glance out towards him. Should the two of you not show up in perfect health tomorrow, I'm certain I'll have a big hassle on my hands, and that's not what I want, I assure you. You really did do your research, didn't you? It's my favorite hobby. So, that means you know what your size underwear Richter wears. Boss! I'm afraid you'll have to barter for that information. Oh, you drive a hard bargain, do you? I like that. Great. That's just great. After a little more discussion, the three of us settle on a hotel room for our meeting spot. The unfortunate patrons who had to witness all of that, well, they're sent home and promised free drinks when they come back. In this day and age, that's probably enough to risk being shot. Once that mess is sorted out, the three of us head to the hotel with our respective men. I can't even begin to imagine how tonight will end, but I have to hope for the best. To continue the story, pick different choices and play through Leslie's route. Both routes lead to one ending, but you'll need to understand both sides of the story. Back to first choice. Unless both sides win, no agreement can be permanent. Jimmy Carter. That's true. Back to the first choice. Okay, so now we need to choose Leslie's route rather than Meyer's route. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, well, regardless of whether it's going to take me back there or not, it might have been bugged. I'll just go back to the first decision again, I guess, since this seems to be buggy. Thank you guys so much for being along for this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like down below and go enjoy some of the other visual novels I've done on the channel as well. There will be a link in the icon in the top right corner if you want to go check some of those out. Next episode is going to be Leslie's route, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. But without taking up any more y'all's time, I will go ahead and let you beautiful people go. Goodbye, my lovelies.
3, 2, 1, jump!